Some races redefine careers. Others redefine the sport's understanding of what's possible. November 2024, Sao Paulo. Rain heavy enough to delay qualifying by a full day. Multiple red flags before the race could even settle into a rhythm. Visibility so poor that drivers described sections of the track as guesswork rather than sight. And starting 17th on the grid was Max Verstappen. Engine penalty. Wrong side of the field. Conditions that punish even minor mistakes with instant disaster. In modern Formula One, wins don't come from that position, especially not in a monsoon. 71 laps later, Verstappen crossed the line first, nearly 20 seconds clear of the field. That margin alone was staggering, but the deeper numbers were even more unsettling. He set 17 fastest laps. 9 of the 10 quickest laps of the entire race belonged to him. Not in clean air, not from pole, but while carving through traffic in conditions that reduced most drivers to survival mode. Even his father, himself a former F1 driver, could only sum it up with disbelief over the radio. But this wasn't bravery. And it wasn't luck, because when analysts pulled the telemetry, something became clear. Verstappen wasn't just faster in the rain, he was different in a measurable, mechanical way. His braking traces, throttle application, gear usage, and corner geometry diverged sharply from the rest of the grid. This wasn't instinct alone, it was a system. To understand why this performance shocked engineers more than fans, you need to understand one thing first. Rain doesn't just make Formula One slower, it turns it into a completely different sport. Grip disappears, aerodynamics weaken, visibility collapses, and the car beneath the driver stops behaving like the one they've spent years mastering. In those conditions, the advantage shifts away from hardware and towards something far harder to engineer: feel. And to understand why Verstappen's feel in the rain is so extreme, we need to go back decades, long before Formula One was ever in the picture. On a dry circuit, a modern Formula One car is glued to the asphalt. Aerodynamics generate enormous downforce. Rubber laid down over an entire weekend provides predictable grip. The racing line is clear, fast, and safe. Rain erases all of that. When heavy rain hits circuits like Interlagos, Spa, or Silverstone, grip drops by as much as 60%. The dark, rubbered-in racing line, normally the fastest route, becomes the most dangerous place to put a tire. It turns slick, oily, and unpredictable. At the same time, cars slow down, and that matters more than it sounds. Slower speed means less airflow over the wings. Less airflow means less downforce. In wet conditions, an F1 car produces roughly a third less aerodynamic grip. The machine drivers rely on suddenly feels light, nervous, and disconnected. Visibility becomes its own threat. Open wheels throw vast plumes of spray into the air. The diffuser underneath the car vaporizes water into a dense cloud. Following another car through fast corners becomes an act of trust rather than vision. Even the tires behave differently. Full wet tires can evacuate enormous volumes of water, but they operate at temperatures far lower than dry slicks. One incorrect decision on when to switch compounds can cost 10 seconds in a single lap. And if aquaplaning begins, technique doesn't matter. The car simply lifts and slides. That's why rain is often called Formula One's great equalizer. Car advantages shrink, driver input grows. Every overtake must come from judgment, feel, and timing, not DRS or power deployment. If you enjoy breaking down Formula One beyond just lap times and headlines, make sure you're subscribed. These details are the difference between watching the race and understanding it. Now, back to the topic. For most drivers, rain is about damage limitation. For Verstappen, it's an opportunity, because long before downforce, data traces, and hybrid systems, he learned to drive when nothing could be relied on except what his hands and feet were telling him. That instinct wasn't learned in simulators or classrooms. It was forged in freezing rain on karting tracks in Northern Europe. Verstappen's rain ability didn't emerge in Formula One. It was manufactured deliberately. Growing up in Belgium and the Netherlands, regions where rain is routine rather than exceptional, young drivers usually avoided the worst conditions. When rain arrived, karting sessions ended. Drivers waited indoors, not Verstappen. While others sought warmth, he stayed on track. Winter tests, freezing rain, minimal grip. As long as his hands could still function, he drove. His father, a former professional driver, didn't soften those sessions. He intensified them. Kart setups were changed without warning. Restrictions were imposed on overtaking zones. The goal wasn't winning, it was forcing adaptation. Karts offered no electronic safety net, no traction control, no ABS, no aerodynamic grip. In the wet, they taught something no simulator can replicate: subconscious grip awareness. By the time Verstappen reached junior single-seaters, the difference was already visible. In wet races, his lap time separated not by tenths, but by seconds. Quick question for you. If you could watch one unseen thing from inside a Formula One weekend, radio calls, simulator sessions, strategy meetings, or onboard data, which would you choose and why? Drop your answer in the comments. I'll reply to the most interesting ones. Now, back to the topic. Engineers noticed something unsettling. He wasn't sliding less, he was sliding on purpose, using rotation to control direction while maintaining stability. This foundation explains why rain doesn't overload him cognitively. Where others are processing danger, Verstappen is processing opportunity. He had already spent thousands of hours driving with nothing to lean on except feel. That background explains his comfort, but not the technical precision he now applies at Formula One speeds. In dry conditions, drivers follow similar lines: wide entry, clip the apex, use all the track on exit. In the wet, most drivers follow the same path, just more cautiously. Verstappen doesn't. He uses what analysts describe as square lines. He brakes in a straight line for longer, turns later, rotates the car sharply, and straightens earlier on exit. This keeps him off the rubbered-in racing line, where grip is worst. Cleaner asphalt offers more friction, even if it looks slower on paper. The geometry matters. By reducing the time spent rotating mid-corner, he minimizes the window where sudden oversteer can strike. This isn't dramatic driving, it's risk management. And it's why his car often looks calmer than others, despite being pushed harder. But corner lines alone don't explain how he brakes where others simply can't. Telemetry from Sao Paulo revealed something remarkable. Verstappen consistently braked later than rivals, by tens of meters, without losing control. His deceleration curves were smoother, not harsher. That indicates confidence in grip others couldn't access. Then there was the gear usage. While most drivers approached wet braking zones in 7th gear, Verstappen often shifted to 8th before braking. This gave him more downshifts during deceleration, increasing engine braking and smoothing load transfer. Over an entire race, that difference compounds. Corner exits told a similar story. Verstappen applied throttle earlier, but progressively. Steering was straightened sooner. Wheel spin was minimized. Former teammates have described it simply: control, not aggression. And when those techniques are applied repeatedly, something extraordinary happens over a full race distance. Rain races are rarely clean. Safety cars, strategy chaos, constant condition changes. Most drivers react. Verstappen prepares. During neutralized periods, he actively tests grip offline, brakes harder, turns sharper, builds a mental map of the evolving circuit. When racing resumes, he already knows where grip lives. This explains performances like Sao Paulo 2016, Hockenheim 2019, and Sao Paulo 2024. Different cars, different eras, same outcome. While rivals survive, he advances. Which brings us to the inevitable comparison with history's greatest wet weather drivers. Legends have always been defined by rain. Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton. Each built a reputation on days when grip vanished and control mattered most. Verstappen's statistics are still evolving, but numbers miss the context. Two of the greatest comeback drives at the same circuit, 8 years apart. From the back, in monsoon conditions, against experienced champions. That consistency across time is rare, and it suggests something uncomfortable for the rest of the grid. This isn't a peak, it's a baseline. And the next time rain falls on a Grand Prix Sunday, every driver already knows the question they'll be asking themselves. How do you beat someone who feels grip where none should exist? How Verstappen outsmarts F1 every time. Breaks down why Max Verstappen keeps winning even when raw pace isn't the story.
It reveals how he controls races through timing, positioning, and decision-making that never shows up on the timing screens.
Click the video on the end screen to watch the full breakdown.